Manufacturing Matters is an MFG Radio Network production brought to you by GIE Media's Manufacturing Group as industry experts take deep dives into the latest manufacturing matters, whether it's new innovations, products, technologies, and emerging markets that help you understand better why manufacturing matters to you and also to the top companies in the medical, aerospace, defense, and electric vehicle manufacturing industries. Welcome to the latest discussion from GIE Media's Manufacturing Group. I'm Jake Kaufman, the managing editor of Defense and Munitions Magazine. Today we are happy to be joined by DISCUS Software as they present how to reduce first article inspection creation time by 70% to 90%. We'd like to thank DISCUS Software for sponsoring today's discussion. Now, the DISCUS Software Company was founded in 2006 in Columbus, Ohio, and they specialize in the development of software tools for accelerating manufacturing and quality engineering. The DISCUS software tools are productivity solutions that dramatically reduce the time it takes to complete first article inspection, in process inspection planning, process planning, and producibility analysis. DISCUS is compatible with many of the requirements used by companies such as Boeing, Ford, GE, Lockheed, and Siemens. Now, today's presenter is Jeffrey Davis, an experienced account manager at DISCUS Software, who specializes in streamlining first article inspection reporting processes using advanced software solutions. Throughout his career, Jeff has witnessed firsthand the significant benefits that software solutions can bring to quality teams to streamline processes and deliver tailored solutions. He also has shown that he can improve efficiencies. He excels in understanding customer needs and ensures customer satisfaction. Jeff holds a bachelor's degree in business from San Jose State University, which has equipped him with a solid foundation in business principles and practices. Without any further ado, Jeff, the floor is yours.
All right, Jake, I really appreciate that introduction. How's it going, everybody? Hope that you're having a wonderful morning or afternoon, depending on where you're at. Again, yes, my name is Jeff Davis, and I will be your demo facilitator for today. My contact information is also there below. You can either call me, you can text me, you can send me an email, whatever works best for you. I work on Pacific Standard Time, and also a little bit later too. So I want to make sure that you get the undivided attention that you need in order to make the right decision, and also understand what it takes to be able to produce these first article inspection reports. All right, so what are we going to be looking at today? First of all, let's understand a little bit about DISCUS. DISCUS, as Jake had mentioned, we've been around since 2006, and we're actually the industry pioneers for this. We realized that there was a gap, and we wanted to be able to close that gap and make it a little bit more efficient, make it a little bit more accurate when you're producing your first articles. So DISCUS has been around since 2006. We started in Columbus, Ohio, and most of our company is in Dayton. And since then, we've actually been working with over 2,500 customers. This is what you're going to see in the next slide. Over 2,500 customers worldwide. So this is domestic, international, and we're usually supporting aerospace, automotive, medical, heavy machinery. We work with OEMs, so tier 1, 2, 3, really anybody who would be producing some sort of an inspection report. And do keep in mind as well, support is very important. So for us, we have a support portal where you can access all of our documentation. You can ask a question, and then it will populate an answer for you that's most relevant. We also have our Get Started tutorial, or our Get Started guide in our tutorial. We have feature requests where if there's something that you find to be important, you just submit that, and then we will work on it. Usually it's on our next release, and we have a release every 3 months, and we have a large release every year. So those are some of the things that you have, along with training for 2 hours. So this is kind of what we're looking at as far as the DISCUS ecosystem. But next, let's start looking into the 2D FEI suite, which is what we're going to be reviewing today. The main thing here is that we're going to be auto-ballooning, entering results, and then exporting our report. And this can be either AS9102, it can be a PPAP, or a customized template, all right? So the 2D FEI suite, as Jake had mentioned, we're looking to save between 70 to 90%. Sometimes I just say 80%, right? But essentially we do this with our auto-ballooning process through IDA, which is our Intelligent Drawing Analysis Tool. Fancy way of saying optical character recognition, right? So we're going to be scanning your entire print, finding your call outs, and then being able to extract all that information into what we call candidates. I'll show you how that looks in a little bit. We can enter our results, and then we can also export our reports. So IDA, our intelligent drawing analysis tool. Now with this, we have our granular view, and that allows you to be able to change the characteristic type, the data type, the nominal, upper, lower tolerances, the GD&T, so forth. And that's what we're looking at our granular view. IDA, which on this end, we have a one-click solution. So if you were doing this by hand manually before, I'm sorry to hear that first of all, but the good thing is that you have a solution now in front of you where if you just select the IDA button and then hit OK in one blink, if you blink and you blink too long, you're going to miss it because you'll have all of your characteristics that are done in just one snap, right? So that's our auto ballooning feature. We also have some different features within that, such as sequencing for the views. We have an exclusion tool where you can block out certain areas that you do not want to have ballooned. Then we start getting into more of the advanced settings. I want us to focus on with the fundamentals that are right in front of us so you can see DISCUS firsthand. All right. And then everything that you balloon in the bill of character, I mean, in the, excuse me, in the drawing panel is going to be automatically populated into the bill of characteristics or the details panel. Next, we're going to be entering results. And when we enter results, we have a status of either passing, failing, or caution. And you'll see that's also cross-pollinated in our drawing panel. So it's automatically updated. And that's what you're seeing here. In a moment, we're going to check out the bill of characteristics, the details panel, and we'll see all of this right in front of you. Lastly, what we're going to be doing is exporting our reports. And we're going to do this in two ways, even though we have a few other ways as well. But we'll be exporting to a single PDF, and so that we're able to have our Form 1, 2, and 3, for those of you that are familiar with AS9102. But do keep in mind that we also have PPAP or custom templates, like I said earlier. We're not focusing on those today, but I am able to assist you with that. So if you'd like to see a demo with those, then you can always give me, a text or a call, and then we'll schedule a one-on-one. And then we're also going to be exporting to Excel. And then we'll export to Excel. Yes, that's what we're going to be seeing. Now, I have a couple of videos, but this is more so when I send this by email. That way you're able to access it. You can see some of our videos that we have on YouTube. But we're going to skip this for right now. And we're going to dive in. If there are any questions about some things that you would like to see, some features that you would find important, just you can add it into the, there should be a chat button there. And then periodically I'll jump in and I'll look at the chat and I'll try to respond to some of those questions. But for the most part, I feel like this is a good time for us to start opening Discus. Everybody feel the same? I feel like, actually, it is muted. And so I feel like some of the questions will come up or some of the responses will come up. But let me go ahead and open this up for us now. All right, so if I were to open Discus, the first thing that we're going to see is our module panel. Now, it hasn't shown up for you yet, but you're going to see it in just a moment. Now, with our module panel, we have a few different options we can select from. Now, we have Discus Desktop, IDA, and Results. You're familiar with this already now. Now, that's the 2D FAI suite. So when you hear me say 2D FAI suite, I'm referring to those modules, Desktop, IDA, Results. Desktop is the foundation, so we're not going to be able to deselect that no matter how hard we try, right? But IDA, our intelligent drawing analysis tool, and Results, you can select or deselect. Now, we also have CMM, Planner, and 3D. I didn't cover those in our slide deck, but I'll just give you a brief overview. With CMM, that is going to be, it's going to enable you to upload a CSV file from your CMM directly into Discus. So you don't have to try to go back and forth or enter each of those one by one. Just import them. Now, the second thing is Planner. Now, Planner is going to allow you the opportunity to have a manufacturing plan, an in-process plan, or even set your operational sequences. So that's what we're looking at with Planner. And 3D is to annotate and interrogate your MBDs or your models, essentially, right? If you have a CAD and you want to be able to balloon it, use 3D. We're not focused on those right now, but if you send me a message, we can set up a demo for that. Today, we're looking at the 2D FAI suite. So let me go ahead and open that up for us. All right, now while that's opening, let's see if we... Okay, so And sometimes I'm going to answer the question. So I did see one that just came up right now. What is the accuracy? With Discus, we're looking at about 95% accuracy. Um, so if we have one of the prints that we're looking at today, we're going to capture 38 characteristics, and this will be about 95 to 99% accurate. And that's a quick start tutorial that you just saw in front of you. That one we don't need to worry about. I'm going to be your quick start tutorial today. All right, so the bottom three columns are pretty self-explanatory. We have web links that'll take you to our website. And then we have our sale that's going on right now. It's our March Madness sale. So do inquire about that. And that ends at the end of this month. But here we are. We have our reference links, news, and tips and tutorials. Then we have our 6 most recent Discus files. And with that, we can click any of these and it'll open that file right up and you can pick up from where you had left off. Then we can open a TDP. Now, for those of you that don't know what a TDP is, that is a technical data package. That's going to hold your drawings, your certs, and your documents all in one place. Now, I can either add a drawing here or I can right click to be able to add a drawing, but I'm not going to do either of those just yet. I'm going to hide this. This is what we call our welcome screen. I'm going to hide this now. And next thing we're going to do is add a print. So I changed the format a little bit. I used to show the settings first, and then I would go into running IDA. But truthfully, we all want to see IDA. We want to see how the auto ballooning process works. So I'm going to show you that first, and then we'll go into the settings for just a smidge. And then after that, we will start to enter our results and then export. And if there are any questions, I'll be here to answer them for you. But let's go ahead and add our drawing. And I'm going to add 2 drawings, BSB Solid and also Grid Plate. Grid Plate has notes, BSB Solid does not. So with BSB Solid, I can open this up. And first thing we're going to see here is this little eye tool. And that's going to allow us to see BSB Solid and be able to check whether or not this is the correct print one. And then 2, also to see if we have a title sheet, an index page. That way we can skip those sheets if we needed to. Let me go ahead and preview this now. Wonderful. So this is what we're looking for. This is a clean print. We'll be able to go through this pretty simply. But on this end, you can also see that there's no title sheet, no index page. So we don't need to exclude any pages or any sheets from our IDA processing. I'll close this now. And we can choose between a decimal separator, whether that's period or comma, our tolerance template, and we'll go over this a little bit once we start talking about our settings. And this is if we needed to include certain sheets or exclude certain sheets from our pre-processing. We'll discuss with pre-processing as in a little bit. I'll select OK now. And this should say that pre-processing is already complete for BSB Solid. Wonderful. Now I can select this button, but we're not going to do that just yet. I'll go ahead and close this out. And what we're going to do instead is add our drawing, and we'll go to Grid Plate. Now you just saw how we did that with BSB Solid, but we're also going to do this with Grid Plate. We're not going to go through this whole process. We just saw that. So we'll select OK. And now, what do we have? One with notes and one without notes. Now I'm going to tell you this. Everybody who's here, you don't want to miss this because it's going to be a one-click solution and one snap, it'll all be done for us. So I'm going to show you first with BSB Solid, and we're going to switch this to English. Now I'm going to select OK. Most times I will not automatically convert candidates' characteristics, and instead what I will do is cast a net. And you'll see how casting a net works in a little bit. But I'm going to select OK now, and that'll be 3, 2, 1. And there we go. So if you were doing this manually before, you'll notice now that everything is done for us in a matter of one click. And so you don't have to sit over here and do each of these requirements one by one, adding in the tolerances. You don't have to balloon each of these one at a time. That period has gone and passed. I'll hit Control Z now. And now we have these candidates. Now these candidates are essentially just highlighting our callout saying that they're ready to be converted into a characteristic, or simply putting it just it can be ballooned, right? And we can do that with more efficiency. So I can go to grid plate, I'll do the same thing, but I'm going to show you a different way. I'm not going to automatically convert candidates to characteristics. I'm going to deselect this and hit OK. And now we have the candidates here. We'll return back to BSB Solid. Now, in this instance, I'm going to show you two ways to do this. I zoomed in just a little bit. I'm going to double click, and now you see we've created a balloon. I'm going to double click, and now you see we've created a balloon. And these are all cross-pollinating and adding into our bill of characteristics. So I'm going to zoom out just a second here, and I can select each of these, and I'll show you a nifty little tool, our balloon properties. Now we can go to cloud, we can make it a little bit more chubby here, and change our size. There we go. Select apply. And that's a bit obnoxious. So we're not going to keep that, no, but what we will do is bring it back, Control Z, just to show you that you are able to do that. And one of the questions that just came in, that was a question specific to CMM. And for this demo, we're not covering CMM, but that is another module that I can cover. Just shoot me a message, an email, and then we'll do a one-on-one for CMM. Now, and keep asking me questions. I can always get us back on track. I've done this hundreds of times, so that's not a problem for me at all. All right, so we'll close this, and I'll pull out. And what we're seeing here now is going to be our casting a net, where we're trying to capture as many of these as possible. So we will capture, and this is where you can time me on this as well. So I will say it's going to take us under a minute, but it might even take us about 25 seconds, depending if I get all of these spot on. So right click, convert candidates characteristics, and we're just doing this on essentially a per view basis. And we're sequencing these on a clockwise fashion. Click and drag, convert candidates to characteristics. Click and drag, convert these candidates to characteristics. And there we go. All right, so you'll see how everything is sequenced. Everything is numbered here now. Perfect, perfect. And we have this error, which is what we would like to see, and I'll tell you why. The reason why is because this is for one place, and we didn't do our settings, so this one might seem like it's a little bit off, but no. When we know what's happening on the background, we know there's nothing for one place, but in our title block, we have 2 places and 3 places. So when I go to my settings, we're going to make that adjustment, and then when we're exporting, we're going to change that in our granular view. So all that to be said, this took us probably 25 seconds when we're casting a net, which is the preferred method. Now, there's a few other ways to do this that I could show you, but I don't want this to be like drinking water from a fire hose, right? I want this to be something where you understand DISCUS and you can see the fundamentals and how it fits into your workflow, essentially. But now that we'll start moving into our settings, so I said our settings would be after we run IDA. You get a good feel of that. You know this is going to save you time. Let's go into our settings just so that you know some of the options that you have available to you. Well, in settings, we can go to application settings, and you want to do these 3 settings before you run IDA. But you want to enable IDA, your pre-processing, and then you can detect flag notes, reference dimensions, basic dimensions, and then you can change the sequencing. So on my end, I did clockwise. You could change yours to counterclockwise, left to right, top to bottom, right to left, bottom to top, right? Now, in our advanced settings, we can change our resource utilization, and this can be high, low, medium. This is just how much memory DISCUS is going to be using. Now we can enable our pre-processing or our background processing, where you can see the document queue manager, and I'll show you that looks in just a second. But I like to keep mine enabled, and I also set mine to high and high. We'll select OK now. That's setting number 1. After I've added my setting, or after I've changed my settings there, then I usually will add my print. And then we go to our document queue manager I mentioned I was going to show you, and that's what we have here. And this is where all of our prints that have been completed go. And we can add multiple prints at the same time, and then we can change the priority, where we can go up or down, a higher priority or a lower priority. We'll close this now, and let's see what questions we have that are coming in. Oh, okay, wonderful, great question. And so I can send you the system requirements. So um, the question is just saying how much memory does DISCUS use? And usually we want to have 8 GB of RAM. That's a little bit more technical. But yes, I can send you our system requirements for that. All right, so second setting we'd be going over is our profile settings. Now, for our profile settings, I can zoom in here. And under my profile settings, what I'm looking at is our default tolerance settings. Now, for this, we don't have anything for one place, which is why on characteristic, I believe it was number 28. Yep, characteristic number 28, we are getting this error. All right. So if we were to add, we can add something in here. We could do that. I'm not going to. Tab, shift tab, enter, shift enter. It's very much like Excel. So if you are familiar with Excel, you will also be familiar with your default tolerance options here. Now for this, I could copy, I could delete, I can rename, I can make one of these the default by selecting this button here, or I can just add one individually. So that's the default tolerances. You don't have to overthink this. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Select OK. And now the last thing we would do is our zone gridding, or if you're looking at AS9102, our reference location. Now, in order to get to this option or this feature, we just select this little waffle icon. That's what it looks like to me. All right, we will enable our grid, apply, and we have an 8x4 as opposed to an 8x8, which is our default setting. So I will pull these in, the corners here. There we go. And I'll do the same thing for the bottom right corner. I will pull this in. There we go. And we are going to reduce this from an 8x8 to an 8x4. Hit apply, and there we go. Now, some of these might just be a little bit off. Okay, that's not perfectly aligned, and I can't move it over at all. Goodness gracious. Well, what would I do in this event? I would deselect equidistant, hit apply, and now I'll be able to get these right on target. Perfect. Now, I can pull back out, and let's just say, hypothetically, the Office Calico or the rambunctious Husky is just plugging away while we're in a meeting, creating absolute destruction and haphazardly just making a mess here. All right. So in this case, we don't want to do each of these one by one. No, the whole purpose of DISCUS is to be more efficient. So let's just turn equidistant back on, hit apply, and now we're snapped right back into place, right? Saves us time. Then we're going to deselect grid line visibility, and worry not, our locations are still set, they're still there, but we just don't see them here, and so they're not causing us a distraction. Last thing I'm going to do is select OK, and now we're cooking with fire. There are a few other things that I want to show you in the characteristics tab before I move over to the results tab, one of which is going to be our virtual whiteout. I wanted to show you how to renumber some of these and reorganize them. Yes, you can do that, and it is a question that I do get fairly often. You can move these around, but what I didn't show you yet is grid plate. And with grid plate, we can use the same strategy and the same technique that we used before, either by double clicking, or I can select each of these to be able to convert candidates to characteristics. Now, we do have another feature that's sometimes a little bit nifty, and I still like to bring it up because it does help some shops, but I think of this a little bit more vestigial, in that it's like an appendix. Since we've updated IDA to the point of the accuracy that we have now, where, yes, we look at about that 95% accuracy, especially with what you're seeing here, it found all of these balloons and characteristics with great accuracy. And even with this one, for us, we're looking at this and it's saying that we have an error. So it's picking up even human error. And so with all of that being said, you can switch between GD&T and notes mode if you need to. Now, most of the time it's going to pick it up very well. And I say that 95, 99% of the time. But yes, So with this, you can switch between GD&T and notes mode. All right. So now we have all of our notes here, and we're going to move these to the top. And how do we do that? We can just do a bulk, click, and drag. Perfect. And also, let's say that we have characteristic number 7 and 8. Well, for those, we can do a click and drag here, click and drag here. All right, now let's see if we have anything else that we would like. Let's say that something's a little bit further down. Let's go with characteristic number 35. You're the lucky winner today. We'll go to characteristic number 35, and then we can just switch this over to 3. And then everything else after it is going to be renumbered and reorganized. Characteristic number 35. You're back. All right. So now the next thing that we're going to be looking at is our virtual whiteout. And if we have any Harry Potter fans that are here with us today, then think of this as your invisibility cloak. And I'll show you why in just a second. I'm removing some of these basics to start to show you, yes, you can actually delete any of those balloons. All right. So if I hit Control W, it'll be like putting an invisibility cloak on the requirement image. This way, you're able to see the candidates just a little bit more prominently. All right. I will hit Control W now. And there we go. I actually don't remember the spell, but I was going to say it there. If we hit Control W again, it's like taking the invisibility cloak off, where now you have our requirement images that have come back to life. They've been resurrected. Okay, so that's what we'd like to see in the characteristics tab. Outside of this, we can do key characteristics. We can mark, this is checked, so forth. Keep in mind that everything that we have in our characteristics tab and our results tab, essentially our BOC, is customizable. And I'll show you that once we start moving over to results, which we're doing now. All right. So in our results tab, we can enter results. We can also add our design tooling, and all of this is customizable. All right. So for some of these, we'll have either a pass or fail. Pass, fail. All right. And then once we start getting into some of our dimensions here, then we can 0.835, 0.510. I'm not going to do all of these, right? But this is just to give you an idea how this works. Now, DISCUS can be more precise, but not less precise, which is why you see me adding a few extra places there. And we'll continue along. Out of tolerance, 8.750. And this one will be our last. All right, so you can see our color coding here, and hopefully you don't have to squint too much, but we have passing, caution, failing, and then blue, like I was saying in our slide deck, will either be non-reportable or we haven't entered any inspection results for this yet. Now I can go to settings and change this in our color settings. And we can see that here. Perfect. And if we wanted to change some of these options that we have, or some of the columns that we have here, we would go to results, and then from results, we would go to results entry settings. And I can change the passing values or the failing values or the measurement warning level. So that caution that we were getting before, you can change that so it's either a little bit tighter or a little bit more free there. Now I can close this, and one of the other things I wanted to show you is how to be able to change some of these columns here. Now, just to show you, we can go to configure custom columns, where you see this test here. In our BOC, we can switch between either characteristics or results, and we can make a column or a header, either hidden or visible. So some of this might be a little bit into the weeds. I do understand that, but it's also important to know the different features that you have available to you. So I'll go ahead and select OK. So now you know that you have that, and that is at your disposal. That's either for the characteristics or for the results to be able to customize each of these columns. All right, so now we have our results that have been added. We have our status here, and everything has been cross-pollinated. The next thing that we're going to start doing is our part accountability. So these are all going to be placeholders, and we're nearing somewhat of the end of our demo. Usually these are about 30 minutes. And I do like to make sure that I keep a window open for question and answers. Anything that we saw today are features that you would like to see. But let's start adding in some of these placeholders. And the left two columns are mandatory. The right two columns are optional. We're just almost done here. Now I'm going to change this to assembly and partial just so we can add our parts list. No, and yours truly. All right. So for our parts list here, now for this, we can either add individually or we can import a CSV file. And then for functional tests, it's very much the same, either individually or a CSV. Now for materials and processes, we're actually going to use this toolbar again. I'm going to zoom in to our title block, material, and we're going to use a text extraction tool. And for this, I'm going to click and drag. Then we are going to zoom in. Remember, I don't want to have to squint. So we zoom in a little bit by using the scale up. And then we'll go to spec, right click, material and process, spec number, add spec, cert number, and we could add a doc if we wanted to. Comments, none. Okay. And now that's added. So this is what we'd be looking at inside of Discus. Everything is done for us now. Now keep in mind that for that first instance of you seeing the IDA or intelligent drawing analysis tool, you're able to see that we can balloon in just about under a minute for 38 characteristics. And then we're able to add the results, and we can import our results as well. And then for part accountability, materials and processes, we can add CSV files for each of these three. We can also use a text extraction tool as well. So we're seeing everything that we have within Discus. Now, before I export, I want to be able to see if there are any questions. Okay, one of the questions that we have are an auto feature in our part accountability, and that is on the horizon. We're working on that one, yes. And then let me see, our other formats allowable for upload, it's CSV file primarily. But that's just for if we're looking at this from a parts list material process functional test. Adding into our drawing is going to be PDF, and then we have a number of file formats for Discus 3D. All right, now we are going to be exporting. And when we export, we have two different ways that we're going to do this. One of which is going to be to PDF, and the other of which will be to Excel. I'm going to move over to our characteristics tab, because if I export from our results tab, it will give us our results of either passing, failing, caution, non-reportable. But what I'm going to do is move over to our characteristics tab. File, export, PDF. Let's save this to our desktop. And hit save. Yes, I'd like to open this file. Thank you. And you can see here that the candidates do not come along for the ride. So if you were concerned about that, need not. But we do have everything that we ballooned, and we even have this little human error. Perfect. We'll close this. And now the next thing we're going to do is export to Excel. Uh-oh, we have an error. And that's what we saw a little earlier. And it doesn't matter. how hard I smash on this export button, not going to go through. What we need to do is fix these errors before we go forward at all. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to select details, and this is going to bring up that there's no minimum and no maximum. So from here, we will go to our granular view, or that characteristic properties, which you can also select by clicking on the characteristic number that you see in your bill of characteristics. And we can change the characteristic type. We can change the data type, and we can add in our upper and lower, edit GD&T, freehand or guided, close this, and then we can select OK when all of this is done. And then what you'll notice is once I select this, our validation status will then say, OK. Bada boom. Now we have about 14 preloaded templates in DISCUS, about 14 of them. Now, our team can create customized templates for you on your behalf. Now, you can learn it if you want to. We have documentation in our tutorial. We also have documentation in our support portal. We have a video that would explain how to do this with our tokenization system. But our support team will do this for you, and they do it all day. So that's something where you just request a custom template, you send them what you've been using, they will replicate it, send it back to you in no time. So I'm going to just continue with RevC that I have here. And we are going to find an output location. Let's say this is the desktop again. I think that's a good idea. How about you? All right, save and export. And we have everything now filled out for us. Form 1 with our part number accountability, our parts list here below. We have our Form 2, our product accountability with our materials and processes and functional tests. And then for Form 3, we have our reference location in that set. We have our requirements. We have our GD&T, our results. We could even add in our design tooling, which I didn't do, but all of this is customizable. So if this is not the format that you're currently using, just keep in mind that we can adjust it to fit whatever you've been using before. We are pretty much at the conclusion. I mean, we've gone through a lot today with DISCUS. What I usually do is close out with question answers I was saying before. And then I also will just show the slide deck and go through some of those things again, just as a review. But I'm here to field any questions that you have. Let me see if we have any guns coming in. All right, do we have any questions?
Awesome. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for that presentation. We do have quite a few questions. I know you were able to answer a few of them throughout the course of your presentation. So if this is something you were able to touch on, we can quickly go past it. But Frank wants to know, what is the percentage of accuracy when using the auto-populate tool?
Okay, so for that one, yes. Depends on your print, but usually it's about 95%. I would say about 95%, yes.
Okay, perfect. Also, Corey wants to know, or wants to let you know, he works for an engine MRO in an engine MRO environment. They use FAI. When they bring in new engine models, can your bubble software read a manual and create bubbles and subsequently populate the AS9102 form?
Yes.
Okay. Joel wants to know too, can the balloon dimensions have a major minor attribute?
Yes.
Okay.
And I can show that. I mean, each of these I can show. The AS9102 I showed. For that one, yes, I can show that as well.
Okay. Also, Chris was wondering, from what he can see, there is a form of AI that is used to identify and import the characteristics. Is that process on device, or is it a server that gets the information? Is that ITAR or EAR compliant?
Okay, so for this, there is no data share between your system and our servers whatsoever. The only thing that does come up is It will ping our software, it'll ping our license server just to say that you have an active license, but there is no data share with anything that you do in Discus. So the AI is 100% safe and it's just on your system.
Awesome. Also, Matt wants to know his company uses a Keyance machine for inspection that uses an image to export inspection data. Can that data be imported into Discus instead of the manual entry that you are doing?
Yes, and actually we have enough time where I can show this. There were a couple of questions that came up that I noticed as well, that had come up where people were interested in seeing the CMM option
Yes.
and availability. So I want to take a moment as you're still asking these questions and as I'm fielding them.
Hmm.
I'm going to close Discus and then reopen it with the CMM module so that you guys
Okay.
can all see this as well.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Jeff.
And then I can continue to take questions right now as I'm doing this.
Okay, gotcha. Let's see. So you, like you said, you're talking about the CMM part, so we'll skip over that. How much memory storage is required for the high setting?
Oh, that one's more of a technical question where I can ask our support team,
Okay.
or online I can send the system requirements. I would just, if you can send me an email or a text, and then I'll send over the system requirements. But yeah, I mean it's usually 8 GB. That's what I was saying a little bit earlier. It's usually about 8 GB of RAM, but there's other system requirements as well. But it's not too intensive, but you do want to make sure that you have enough available.
Okay. Also, people were wondering what is the largest file size that Discus can comfortably handle?
Let me see. So that's also another technical
Yeah.
question where I would kind of bring in support. I don't think there's any maximum file size necessarily. Usually when we export, the file sizes are about a Discus file size is about 2 MB, two
Okay.
and a half megabytes. But that's a technical question. So with that one, I don't want to misguide you, but I don't believe that there's necessarily a maximum.
Okay. Gotcha. A couple more questions that are coming in. How much time do you think you can save by incorporating Discus into the inspection workflow?
I mean, it ultimately depends. I mean, we always say 80%, right? 70 to 90%, right?
Hmm.
But on your end, it depends on the complexity of your drawing. It depends on um, how efficient you are as well. But you can see that with this, there are what, 38 characteristics or so. This one, if I was doing this manually, it might take me about an hour, give or take, maybe hour and a half. But that's not, we're ballooning and then adding everything into the BOC, doing each of these requirements, checking the tolerances. It's a bit tedious. And this
Hmm.
takes me 1 minute to do, if not less, um, with just using the IDA function. Let me call a timeout really quick so
Yep,
that I
no
can
problem.
show everybody the
Yes.
CMM panel. Um, let me go ahead and open this up. So you'll see the CMM report panel here. Now, with this, since we have done this, let me try to close this. Okay. Now, with this, you're going to get either an error, and the error is just that you don't have the two that are coordinated. And so for this, since I added grid plate, the numbering system is going to be a little bit off. But just keep that in mind. As long as the characteristic numbers match what you have in Discus with your ballooning, it's going to automatically populate everything into our results. So I can just select this addition symbol here, and then I can just select one. Now, I'm not exactly sure which one corresponds to BSB solid, uh, but let's just try with test 4. I actually think it might be test 2. Let's try test 2. So then we're going to scroll down and we're just finding the header that would correspond, and that's the one here. Now we will use this as the header. Now from there, let's just make sure that everything is added, or if there's anything that we need to ignore. This is our upper, and this is our lower. Select OK, and let's see if it adds. No, we don't need to save this. Okay, so then this is what you would have. Everything will be routed automatically, and it will be applied as long as the characteristic numbers match. Now, keep in mind, the workflow that I did before was one where I added in grid plate. So everything will most likely be about 7 off because I added those notes. But when you're doing this, that's not the form that you would be taking. That's not the workflow that you'd be using. Um, But yes, this is how you would use CMM, and it will tell you this does not line up with your results. So that's CMM, everybody. Okay, what other questions did we have?
Also, people were wondering, is this solely for first article inspection reports, or can they export using different standards?
Absolutely, you can use different standards. It is not just for first article inspection reports. We have those for PPAP, but we also have an option for customized templates. So whatever you have been using, our support team can create a template on your behalf that is based off of the standard that you need.
Okay. They also want to know, can you extract or modify and export G, D, and T to their reports?
Yes, and so that's what you're seeing here, the GD&T, and then what we also saw in the Excel export that we had a little bit earlier. That's where we can see that the GD&T was exported.
And now I know, Jeff, this is something you had somewhat touched on, but how do licensing types work with the software? Is it internet-based, self-based, or sorry, self-hosted or server-based?
Okay, good question. So for the licensing, let's just make sure that we start from the top on this.
Mhm.
We have shareability, and shareability is with our floating license, but we also have a floating license, and then we also have a node lock license. A floating license is a shareable license that can be used by anybody in your organization. Um, each seat is the number of users that can use that license simultaneously. So just keep that in mind.
Mhm.
Node lock license is attached to one single MAC address, one workstation. That's it. It is not shareable. Now, the next part of this is the second component of that question, is I guess you can say another form of license type, but we have a one-time fee, and then we also have a subscription. A one-time fee, it's like buying a vehicle. You own the software. You just want to keep up with maintenance and support, get your oil changes. For a subscription, what you're looking at is every year, it's like leasing a vehicle. Every year, you're going to be paying the same amount for your license, but the oil changes are included. And then I believe the question had self-hosted or if it's internet-based. This is going to be installable. We do have internet-based option, but this is installed onto your computer. If you would like it, even let's say that you have a war room, you don't have internet access, we have a server option on your end that we can help you with downloading and installing. But keep in mind that everything we have within Discus is protected. None of the data is exchanged. We talked about it a little bit earlier. We have the Department of Defense, we have war rooms, we have OEMs, mom and pop, so everything in between to make sure that everything is safe and secure. So regardless of which option you go with, we are going to make sure that there's no data exchanges.
Is there a limit to how many users can be sharing it simultaneously?
That's just the number of seats. So if somebody has 5 seats, then 5 users can use Discus simultaneously.
Okay, gotcha. Jesus wants to know if you can export this to Net Inspect.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not going to go through the whole net inspect portion of this. It's not tough at all. But all I would do is just add in my credentials. I would select what I would need here and then select upload.
Okay, gotcha. Also, John has a couple of, I guess, issue or problems to mention. How would Discus add 140 balloons for 140 holes of one character?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So we have an option here either for sub ballooning or we can go to drawing. And if this was something that was a requirement for you, then we can go to auto sub balloon option. And for this, we would just select this. And then whenever we have multiple places, then it will automatically create a parent-child relationship between the parent balloon and then the sub balloons that follow. So it would be 10.1, 10.2, 10.3. And I can give you an example of how that looks. I will remove this here. And you'll notice I have multiple sub-balloons. 0.1, 0.2, 3, 4. If I were to delete characteristic number 38, all of the children or the sub-balloons will be deleted. And you can see they've been added here into our bill of characteristics.
Just scrolling through, Jeff, it looks like John had another one, but I believe if you answered that one, it also answers the second one. If that's different, John, let me know, and we'll definitely ask your second question. But it looks like, Jeff, you have answered all of the questions that we have been asked. If there are any other ones that you do have for Jeff, you can let us know, and we will be able to forward those questions to him after the webinar wraps up. But without any further ado, I would love to thank once again DISCUS Software for sponsoring today's discussion, and obviously a massive thank you to Mr. Jeffrey Davis. You can see his reach or how to reach him on the screen. Obviously, it was plenty of insight that I thank you for sharing with us today, Jeff. So I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Well, thank you, Jake, and thank you for everybody who attended today. Look forward to speaking with you soon.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
You can listen to all of our episodes of Manufacturing Matters and Lunch and Learn podcast from the MFG Radio Network on Spotify, Apple Music, and on our websites, todaysmedicaldevelopments.com, aerospacemanufacturinganddesign.com, defenseandmunitions.com, and evdesignandmanufacturing.com.